Have you ever stopped to think about how one of Baltimore's smartest guys ended up cornered in an empty room, waiting for death to arrive? Stringer Bell wasn't just any drug dealer. While everyone else was worried about controlling corners, he studied economics, attended college classes, dreamed of turning dirty money into clean business. The guy wanted to be a real businessman, you know? The kind of person who wears a suit at breakfast and discusses real estate investments. But there's one thing he never truly understood. You can't run from your own choices. Stringer's death scene is brutal precisely because there's nothing glorious about it. No epic shootout, no final speech full of wisdom. Just a man who finally realized that all his chessmaster moves mean nothing when you're alone, unarmed, staring down the barrels of two guns. Brother Mouzone and Omar Little, two guys who would normally never work together, walked into that abandoned building united by one thing: Stringer's betrayal. And that says a lot about who he really was. The man who tried to play both sides, who thought he could manipulate everyone, who believed being smart was enough. "Get on with it, motherfucker." Those were practically his last words. 6 words carrying all the resignation of someone who finally understood the game. No pleading, no negotiation, no usual arrogance. Just a tired man asking them to get it over with. Take a deep breath and think with me. How many times in life do we think we're playing chess when everyone around us is playing war? Stringer Bell spent the entire series believing that intelligence and planning would defeat brute violence. He saw the drug trade as business, people as pieces on a board. But he forgot that in Baltimore's real streets, honor and loyalty still mean something. And when you betray everyone, eventually you end up alone. The scariest thing about that scene wasn't the shots. It was the silence before them. Those infinite seconds where Stringer looks at both men and knows, simply knows, it's over. No turning back, no negotiation, no plan B. For the first time in his life, there was no smart way out. Omar and Mouzone didn't shout, didn't make speeches, didn't waste time. Professionals to the end. And Stringer, he accepted it. Because deep down, he knew he deserved it. Not for being a criminal. Everyone in that series was in some way. But for thinking he could betray everyone and walk away clean. For believing that being smarter than others was enough. You know what's saddest? Stringer Bell died alone in an empty building, but it didn't have to be that way. If he had been loyal to Avon, his best friend since childhood, maybe he'd be alive. If he hadn't set up Omar, maybe he would have achieved his businessman dreams. If he hadn't used Mouzone as a pawn, maybe he would have gotten where he wanted. But he chose the path of betrayal disguised as intelligence. And The Wire doesn't forgive that kind of thing. The series is brutal because it's real. You reap exactly what you sow. And Stringer planted disloyalty in fertile ground. That scene works because we kind of understand both sides. We spent seasons watching Stringer try to leave the game, try to be better, try to build something legitimate. But we also saw him betray, manipulate, order deaths. We saw him sacrifice good people on the altar of his own ambition. And when that final moment comes, we feel sorry for him, but also perfectly understand why it had to end there. Get on with it, as if he was tired of carrying the weight of his own choices. As if death was almost a relief compared to continuing to live knowing he'd lost everything. Respect, friends, business, dreams, everything. And you know what's real? That wasn't an execution out of anger. It was street justice. Cold, calculated, inevitable. Omar and Mouzone weren't filled with hatred. They were doing what needed to be done. It's almost as if The Wire's own universe had sent those two to collect the debt Stringer had accumulated. His death echoes because we see people like this every day. People who think being smart is enough, who can step over others, that rules don't apply to them because they're different. And then life comes and shows that no, you're not special. Your actions have consequences. Always. Put yourself in his place in those last seconds. You spent years planning, studying, trying to be more than a corner drug dealer. You almost made it. You were so close to finally getting out clean. And then you realized that all those smart moves only isolated you. That in the end, dying alone in an abandoned building is exactly the opposite of everything you dreamed. The Wire is brilliant because it doesn't romanticize anything. Was Stringer Bell intelligent? Yes. Did he have potential to be more? Yes. But that doesn't change the fact that he made terrible choices and paid the price. The series doesn't ask you to like him or hate him. It just shows, these are the actions, these are the consequences. And that final line of his became iconic precisely because it captures the character's complete essence in 1 second. No drama, no attempt to run or fight. Just the pure, raw acceptance that the game was over, that he lost, that it was time to pay for everything. Can you imagine what it must be like to realize in a single instant that all your intelligence, all your planning, all your dreams mean absolutely nothing when you've burned all bridges? When there's no one left on your side? When the only 2 guys looking at you came specifically to kill you? Stringer Bell's death wasn't just about a character being eliminated. It was about the complete collapse of a life philosophy. The idea that you can be smarter than the system, that you can play with the rules without ever really understanding them, that intelligence without loyalty, without honor, without real human connection leads nowhere. So here's the question that won't go away. When you're so busy being smart, at what point do you stop being human?